What's going on, everybody? It's your boy DJP1 here on the Final Stance. And I'm sitting here watching the Wrestlers show on Netflix. If any of you haven't checked that out, I highly recommend it. It's a damn good documentary on Ohio Valley Wrestling and the struggles of what it takes to actually run a independent professional wrestling company. So it's really cool because you get to see the eyes of both the talent and the backstage handlers as far as storylines and how they come about and what it takes to truly get the name out there and get people to come to your shows and all that stuff. So it's very, very interesting. My wife, who's not really a wrestling fan at all, was actually enjoying it yesterday while I was watching part of it. She found it actually pretty interesting as far as like what went on and all that good stuff. But while I'm sitting here watching it, it got me thinking. And I seen the question posed earlier on TikTok. And I was contemplating my answer to the question. And I'm bringing the question to you guys. And I want people to answer this because I want to get this as voluntarily. I want everybody to engage with each other. And I like to hear people's opinions and thoughts. And I don't know. I just want this to be a fun little group. So the question is, what wrestling hill are you willing to stake your claim on and die on? Like, what is your wrestling opinion that a lot of people may not necessarily agree with? Me personally, it's a controversial opinion with a lot of my friends because they're huge fans of this guy. I've never really been one. The only time I was a fan was when he was with Paul Heyman, and I think that was just because I'm a Paul Heyman guy. No matter what. So honestly, I'm gonna answer this question truthfully for me, and I'm gonna say CM Punk is the most overrated wrestler to ever walk the planet. I don't see the hype in him. I really don't. I feel like he brought something at the most boring time in wrestling. I feel like that's the only reason he was ever really relevant is because he brought some color to a black and white era. Because let's face it, when he became the WWE champion and did that run and was the voice of the voiceless and all this crap, there's nothing going on. Like, I mean, what? Who else was champion around that time? Del Rio? John Cena? I mean, no disrespect to John Cena, but he's not bringing an attitude to anything. Sheamus? Like, come on now. They had him feuding at one point with Kevin Nash, who had not been in WWE for like 8 years and was way past his prime. Don't get me started on Kevin Nash because that's another overrated individual in my opinion. I ask you to go and find one CM Punk match other than the dog collar match that he had with MJF, we're not talking. Well, okay, we will use AEW. That you're like, oh my god, like that's one of the greatest matches ever. You can't, like, for what he thinks he is in his head, he's going to ruin every chance he ever has at becoming something, because there's really nowhere for him to go now except TNA. And I don't really think TNA really wants anything to do with him. I mean, you got TNA, you got NWA, which I doubt NWA brings him in. They may be desperate enough. I know they said they just got 2 top 20 TV deals. So, I mean, they may bring him in to kind of try and help boost ratings. But that didn't even really work with AEW, because he didn't really amount to shit as far as ratings getter. Sorry, I keep yawning. But that's my thing. I think he's the most overhyped, overrated wrestler to ever really be considered the best in the world. He's not, never was. He's so overhyped and overrated. The only time he was ever really relevant, in my opinion, as far as like his matches being great in WWE anyway, was when he was with John Cena. When he was feuding with John Cena, those were the only times his matches were ever quote unquote good. And let's face it, say what you want about the man, John Cena has good matches with everybody. You got to give the man, his credit there. He's very accomplished, and he knows really how to work it. And I don't see CM Punk matches of being anything other than when he was feuding with John Cena. His match at WrestleMania with The Undertaker was not that good. The feud with Ryback was garbage. His matches with Triple H weren't that good. His matches when he was coming up with Morrison were crap. I'm trying to think. I will give him credit for the SES. The Straight Edge Society was hilarious. That was really cool. His matches, his feud he had with The Undertaker early on for the World Heavyweight title, that was pretty decent. Jeff Hardy match was okay. But like, he throws himself up there with the likes of like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Bret Hart, Chris Jericho, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock. Like, he throws himself in those categories, and he's The Miz. He's as far as guys that have been world champion and all that along those lines, in my opinion, he's mid-tier. He's not on that upper echelon, and he never will be. His AEW title reign was a complete bust. I don't think anyone really gave a shit. I think more people were upset that Hangman Page lost and CM Punk was going around as champion. I don't think he fit in AEW. The only time he really got cheered, let's be honest, was in Chicago. And that's because, I mean, I like Chicago, but they don't really have a whole lot to hold their hat on right now. I mean, the Bears are crap. The Bulls aren't that good. The Blackhawks are up and coming, but my White Sox sucked. The Cubs didn't make the playoffs, so like, Chicago doesn't really have a whole lot to be like, oh my God, that's our thing. Like, so I mean, I understand why they get all crazy about CM Punk, but that's my opinion. I just think he's overhyped. He's not as good as he says. He's and I'm just purely talking about his matches because on the microphone he's up there. Like, his mic skills are great. And I think that's the only thing that's carried him over is the fact that he can cut a promo and he can deliver on the mic. He's way better on the microphone than he ever was in the ring. So that's where I'm sticking with that. And watching wrestlers also got me thinking about another aspect of underrated performers. Because they was talking with Al Snow, and he was talking about his career and how he had a good career, and he did. Like, his career lasted for a while. You know, he had a couple championship runs and all that stuff. But he's talking about how he always kind of envisioned his career being more than what it was. So it kind of had me thinking as far as if I had to say the most underrated performer in wrestling. And it got me thinking. So I think I'm going to comprehend on that for a little while. Because that's a deep question. So I'm posing this question to you guys. Who are what's the one wrestling opinion that you're willing to stake your claim on and die on the hill of? And two, who do you think is the single most underrated performer? Now, this could be a female wrestler. It could be a singles wrestler. It could be a tag team wrestler, like wrestlers. It could be a tag team group. Or, I'm even going to throw this out there. It could be a wrestling manager. Like, is there a manager that you think doesn't get enough credit for what they've done through their career and, like, who they've been a manager of? And honestly, like, when you think of managers, I can think of a couple who I think doesn't get enough credit. But I'll go into that in the next episode. But yeah, so I'm going to think on, because that's a big thing. I mean, when you're talking about the wrestling business and who you view as the most underrated wrestler of all time. So you're just going to have to tune in to my next episode to catch my answer. And I'm actually going to think about this, and I'm going to have some good reasonings behind my answer. So, yeah, I just want to come to you guys real quick, pose these questions. I hope to hear from you guys. Like I said, you can hit me up find me anywhere. You can listen on where your podcasts are. Sorry, I'm stumbling and mumbling like Joe Biden right there. You can find me on Spotify, Google, Apple, pretty much anywhere. Podbean. I'm pretty much anywhere you can find your podcasts. I want to give a shout out to my boys over at the Diner Pod over there. They're doing great stuff, hilarious content. They're doing great stuff for local sports. So that's a great thing. I'm glad to see the success they're having. Give a quick shout out to my boys over at Mad Bash Studios. They're killing it for independent pro wrestling. I would really love to hear their thoughts on these questions. I I'd love to do hopefully some work with them down the line. And opening soon in Terre Haute. Shout out to Disciples Records. Definitely going to hopefully be doing some stuff with them. I have Brett on the show again here soon, and we're going to talk music and wrestling and sports and just have a good old time like we did last time. I'm excited to get some more info about the store and what's going on there and get his opinion on some things, and look forward to that. It's going to be a good time. Hopefully get Dwayne and Jay back on here soon. My birthday's at the end of the week, so I will be celebrating my birthday this weekend. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, I hope to see some of your guys' answers. Hit me up on Spotify, Podbean, Apple, Google. You can find me on Facebook at the Final Stance Podcast. Message me there, comment on whatever. I'm posting, whether it's podcast episodes or I'm just posting random stuff that I find on Facebook. Please don't hesitate to comment, ask questions, interact. I want everyone to interact with each other and just have a good old time. But until the next time, take care of yourself, take care of one another, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.